Hey everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Behind the Hive. It's September 18th, 2025, and I'm here with Emma again. Now we're ready to feed the bees.
Yay.
So we have a very simple method of feeding the bees. We provide the syrup. The bees take in what they need. Back on the 8th of September, we came in to take the honey crop off the bee escapes. When I brought the trailer in to put the crop in, it also came with the drums of feed. So we've had them unopened since then. But since then, for sure, the honey flow is over for this year. So we have to give the bees something to work with. They're still bringing in pollen. 2025 has been a very dry year, less than 20% normal moisture over the last 4 months. So we're looking forward to giving them a little bit just to stimulate them. The other thing we're looking at doing today is we're just curious to monitor the feed uptake. So we're going to take scale weights for the hives that were on the lift platforms that we set up and monitor through the summer. So we're just getting a little bit of data to share with people the uptake of the feed by the colonies.
Are there concerns with other beekeepers in the area when you set up an open source feeding?
That's always a concern. You don't want to taint the honey crop of your neighbor beekeepers.
Right.
So typically I haven't opened until October, but this year, because it's so dry and the feed is needed right in the brood chambers, even if neighbors did come and find a little bit, it's not going to end up in honey supers.
Right.
Proximity really makes a difference. They'd have to travel from wherever they are to here. And also because it's past mid-September, the honey crops are off.
Yeah.
People have already pulled their honey crops. I have seen some years where we've had good moisture. We do get a late honey flow up till maybe the 10th of September, but always by the 10th of September it's done.
Yeah.
So once you get past the mid-September point, it's safe that you're not going to risk contaminating anyone's crop.
Okay. So why are we only opening one then?
Well, one reason we're only opening one is we don't want to shut down brood rearing yet. We want a nice healthy cluster to be raised. Now these hives were treated with Formic Pro 10 days ago on September 8th. And so as you can see from the flight activity, they're really in good shape and looking forward to getting some food reserves in for winter. Mother Nature's not going to provide it, so we will.
Great. Let's do that.
Okay. So do you know how to open a feed drum?
Nope.
Do you know what that stick is for?
No, I would love to know.
Well, I'm going to show you. I just fished that out of the woods. But you just have to pull it back. You see how that pops off?
Yeah.
So you want to pull on that until you can take the ring off completely.
Nice. And where do you want to keep
Just set it beside.
Okay.
And it'll want to roll off, so you just find somewhere. Yep.
Okay.
So now lift off the lid.
Wow.
So what do we got there?
So looks like we've got a bag full of sugar syrup.
Yep.
It's yellow.
It's got a yellowish tinge. That's pure sucrose and water.
Ah.
So it's the 2-to-1. They call it heavy syrup. And as you can see, one bee is just sort of fallen in. Hello, you're a little early for the meal. So we just have them closed up with a bag tag. So I've got a knife here. And we'll just cut off the... Typically I carry metal clippers.
Right.
Like anything that'll cut will work. And this is where we always get a little bit sticky, because no matter how hard you try, this syrup kind of escapes. So that's what the bag looks like. And sort of like with a garbage can, you just kind of tuck it so it goes around the edges. And you pull it down to get the air out. There you go.
That looks great.
Yeah.
Wow.
So now we have our syrup exposed. We have to find a way to keep the bees from drowning in it. So what I found the easiest way, and I've tried popcorn and styrofoam chips and wood shavings and a whole bunch of things, but just regular wheat straw or even oat straw makes a very good float. And so what I'll do is I'll take the straw, and the easiest way to carry a bale of straw is just using a barrel bag, and I'll just fluff it like a mat on the surface. And you might think you don't need much, but really it will pick up moisture. So I like to put at least a good 3 inches or about 8 centimeters of straw on top. And I just push it around to the outside. And then this is what we have this stick for. When we got here, you probably saw me go into the trees and come out with this stick. And I just like to stir it up a little bit. I don't probably have to do this, but I push this layer down in, and you can see how the straw quickly floats back up like that. And then once I've done that, there's my float. I just put a final little layer on so they got a dry area to walk and land on. And it will take them, depends on what's going on. Like if there's anything coming in from the field at all, they might ignore it sometimes for a few days. But typically under these conditions, I would expect to see feeding activity here tomorrow or the next day at the latest. So the other thing we want to do, now we've got this buffet ready for the bees, is they have to have a way to get in, but we want to keep the rain out. So to keep the rain out, I simply use the lid. I take the lid and I hook it over the edge of the drum, and all that crack around there makes a very good way for the bees to come in and get feed, and this performs a rain gutter function. But you can use almost anything. For example, you can just take a hive cover. You don't have any sticks. The hive cover works very well. You just put it so it's on the sloping to the downside. The bees come in from all four sides, and then you can set the lid back on, and that acts again as a rain gutter. You don't need to keep all the rain out, just most of it. If you're in a windy location, this one isn't, you can put a rock on or a brick, something to hold it. But all these things work quite well. But a stick is the simplest, and here at the moment I don't have any spare hive covers, so I'm just gonna put that back down. But the resources required to do this are absolutely minimal. So this yard has 28 colonies.
Okay.
And so what I like to do is feed an average of 4 Canadian gallons, or about 18 liters of syrup per hive. Now the stronger ones will get more, but they need more. And the weaker ones will get what they need, as long as they can all work together, all feed together. So when we're setting out the drums, because it was almost 30 hives, I'd rather have a little extra, especially since they're going to be topping up some dark comb boxes for us for spring feed. So we put here the 3 drums, so that's like 10, 20, 30. In this case, it's for 28. And that will give the colonies the food they need to make it through until spring and beyond. It'll give good reserves going into spring.
How long will you leave the barrel out here for?
I leave them out till they're empty.
Okay.
Yeah, and the bees will polish off every piece of straw. There won't be a granule of sugar left.
Wow.
The other thing I like to do is set the drums in the sun, because that warms the syrup. It's remarkable how warm these drums can get when they're out in the sun.
Yeah.
So especially as the syrup gets down and there's that dead air space at the top, it creates quite a nice warm environment, and the bees like working in the heat. So we're just trying to optimize the experience for the bees for their uptake of the syrup.
Okay. So this is it for this barrel until spring.
Like I typically would come into a yard and I could be gone 15 minutes later.
Wow.
Yeah.
So when will they get a sense that this is here for them? Does it take a while?
If there's anything at all yielding in the field, they'll ignore it. So sometimes they'll ignore it for a few days, and then they can take it all up in 3 days. It just a lot depends what's going on in the environment. But I think this year, within 2 to 3 days, they'll be actively working the drum.
Yeah.
Hello everyone. It is about 9:45 on September 19th, 2025, the day after we opened the single feed drum here at the bee yard we've been doing the vlog shoots in. As you can see, there's excellent activity at the feed drum already. It's approximately 14 degrees Celsius, and the bees are actively uptaking the feed from the feed drum, doing all the transference from the feed drum into their colonies. Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Behind the Hive. Here on October 16th, 2025, I'm here with Emma, and we're going to do some beekeeping today that involves the final stages of feeding. So to monitor our feeding process, our progress I should say, we're going to be taking some more hive weights.
Right.
And then we're going to put on entrance reducers, and that would allow us to identify any colonies that hadn't taken up syrup, which tells me they're not queen right or there's something else wrong with them. Now, I will say that October 16th is late for this. Normally, I'm done the first half of October. I like to have all the feed drums open sometime before the Canadian Thanksgiving. So certainly within that first week of October is the ideal time to have the bees do their final uptake. A lot of beekeepers do what's called bucket feeding, or they'll have like a gallon jar feeder, and they'll feed it through a hole in the top cover of the hive. Other ones, there's in-hive frame feeders where they can slide the cover off a little bit and fill them up with a hose. And then the bees internally, those are both internal feeding systems. Some of the things I like about the barrel feeding is there's essentially, I used old, essentially worn out scrap barrels. All they have to do is contain the syrup. And as you'll see, we put a plastic liner in. And our goal isn't to get the hive to a certain weight. Our goal is to get the colony to the weight that it needs. So any colony, for example, that's not queen right, won't take up feed. If you use one of those other feeding systems and you put the feed on the colony, it actually encourages robbing because they're not inclined to take up feed. Now, robbing is when that's like a home invasion in the bee world. They're going into each other's homes, and that starts a whole chain reaction of defensive behavior and general unpleasantness, and also risks disease transfer. Whereas with the open source feeding, it's like going to a supermarket and you're shopping with your neighbors. And it's just a much more friendly experience. It's almost like a honey flow is happening. So those are the sort of differences between robbing and open source feeding as far as the ambiance and disease risk within the bee yard is concerned. The other thing we do with open source feeding is we allow the colonies to prime brood frames for next spring use. So colonies that went sideways this year, for some reason the queens went bad, we're going to take those supers now and put them on a strong neighbor colony, and they'll prep those frames, even put some pollen in, and have them ready for use next April. The other thing these covers do is they help, especially this time of year, they hold the heat in a little bit, because the sun will hit the drums, warms it up, and the bees work better. It's a little bit of a microclimate in there, and it helps the bees take up the syrup. So that's it. We're good to go. Bees are fed. Hey everyone, it's October 17th, 2025. At 10 a.m. it's about 7 degrees Celsius. So this is the morning after we opened the 2 additional feed barrels. We opened them yesterday, about noon. And you can see, even though it was cool yesterday afternoon, I think it reached a high of about 14. The bees have already rediscovered the feed drums and are actively working them. So I'll just get a little bit closer. You can see they've just started on them. The straw is still up close to the top, but we're seeing very good flight around them. And as the day warms up and the hives become more active, then the syrup will rapidly be taken up. So I expect now that it's cooler and some of the summer field force will have diminished, it's probably going to take them maybe up to 2 weeks to fully consume the food. But they would have had that extra 4 weeks from the time the first feed drum opened to build up whatever additional winter cluster bees that they wanted. Clean bees, because the Formic Pro strips have been applied early September there, first half of September. So I'm looking forward to very good wintering in this yard. So back in this bee yard, the drum has been set out. It's all ready now. The ground's frozen. So you want to get ahead of your season, because often during the season the conditions aren't good. Whereas right now we've got the snow on the ground and it's frozen, so it's optimal to bring in the syrup for spring. So we're 4 months ahead. We got January, February, March. 4 months from today, we'll be popping open this feed drum, putting straw in, and the bees will be waking up, ready to get going. So the syrup level here, because there's 28 or so hives, is right about the midpoint here, so half a drum. And we try to give about a gallon per hive. We've also got a little bit of remnants in the feed drums from the fall. We had a very cold fall. The bees got all they needed. And we're just going to let these barrels breathe this year, because once it gets down into that last third, if you try to save that syrup by any other way, it'll just ferment. It'll get condensation in there. So we're just going to let these barrels breathe all winter. And the barrel that we're bringing in fresh, it will open that 10th of April or thereabouts, and that'll kick forward these bees. So that wraps up our year. And we wish everyone the best, and to provide you with more beekeeping information on how we do things at Nod Apiary Products through the upcoming winter.